Alright guys, what is up? I'm here with a Dxtory advanced tutorial. This is going to go over mostly things that you wouldn't think about when you use this program. The basic one, I'll put an annotation up here for. So if we get in the program and we go to the target tab, the first one, basically what this tab is for is if you're recording a video and let's say you're making a tutorial over some sort of program and you have like multiple programs open and you're going into a different one and you don't want the people to see what you're recording with that other program, this ignore setting, it'll ignore whatever exe file you put in here. So if I'm using Vegas 12 and I'm making a tutorial for that and I have Photoshop open and I'm like sort of using that at the same time, I could add a target and browse the folder, and then if I go into program files, it's in this one. If I go in here and I go to Photoshop and I find the exe file, the actual application, this will see it's photoshop.exe. That will ignore that file when I have it open while I'm recording. So I don't want that, but that's very useful for certain cases. This is the overlay settings. You can have them however you want. You can use the default setting. Basically what default setting is, there's default setting in all these tabs, well these 4 or 5. The default setting, it'll use these same settings for all of my profiles. Now the profiles are different for each game you play, you can set them up differently. So like, here's one for Tekkit. You can edit your profile. And you can add profiles for different games, you can delete them, you can use this button and add this profile to your ignore list. So if I were to add this one, and I went to go play that game and I started recording, it wouldn't record the game. I'm pretty sure it shows their desktop, but I wouldn't ignore that if you plan on using it to record it. You can change this overlay wherever you want, whatever corner you want, doesn't matter. I have it disabled. You can change the non-recording color, so right now it's lime green. I can make it red and green, or yellow. So now, if I put the overlay up here, or anywhere I want, it'll be yellow instead of green. So, put it back to green. And then you can make, when you're recording, it'll be red. You can use the screenshot frames. So, if you have the overlay on, and you take a screenshot, it'll put the overlay in the screenshot, which I wouldn't recommend if you plan on doing, like, sort of, like, creative screenshots, like, for wallpapers and stuff. I wouldn't capture the the overlay for the FPS. In the folder tab, this is where you save movies to. Now, I've got my use default setting unchecked, so that way I can save movies to different places if I choose to. You see how my megabits per second changed a little bit? That's because, I don't know. I benchmarked each one of these individually. But, if you want it default and you just want to save all your movies to one folder, then you just, like, I could make a folder and then I can make, see this is on my C drive, my main drive. I've got Dxtory and then I've got new movies and it saves all my stuff into new movies. Now, if I wanted to categorize it into different games, I could put Dxtory and then I could put Tekkit, Skyrim, any game, and it would, and when I went to that, see this is the default, but if I went to that different game in the profiles and I changed it specifically for that game, then it would record it to that folder, so it would be more organized if you wanted it to. Basically what you do is you add a folder, and then you're going to choose where you want it to go, which I'm not going to do, but basically I went into my C drive and I chose this folder and I clicked OK. Okay, right there. And then once you're done, you're going to go into benchmark, and you're going to run it, and it's going to load up this bar, and then when you're done, you hit OK. And it's going to determine your write speed in megabits per second. So anything over 100, you can record in 1080p, but you don't really need to record in 1080p. If you wanted to, basically your file size would be bigger, and you'd be using up more memory. I record in 720p, so I mean, yeah, I could record in 1080p if I want to. I'm obviously over 100, but if you don't want to, you wouldn't have to. The next, oh, almost forgot. You can choose your folder to save screenshots. So in my C drive, I've got Dxtory and then a screenshot folder. I've got a new movies folder. I've also got a old movies folder. So what I do is I record the new movie. Then when I edit it and upload it, I take it out of that folder and I drag it over to old movies, just so I can differentiate the movies if I'm like dragging them from my Vegas Explorer into the track list and all that. The next tab, sorry about that. The next tab is Hotkey. I really recommend using default setting for this, because if you use default and you're on your default profile, it will use these settings for every different game you play. So my start and stop capture is F9, my single screenshot is F12, and my toggle overlay is F6. So I've got these buttons memorized, I know what they do, and I don't want them to change if I play different games, so I want to use the default setting. You can change these however you want. You just click on it and hit the key, and it, you know, I can make push to talk F3, but I don't want to do that. So I don't want that. So just, you could probably use the settings I use. These are more default settings, but I don't think they'll be default for you, so just change them like that. The next is your movie tab. Now, I would recommend using default setting for this, because this will change it so that way all your videos record in 720p. Now, you can use different codecs, which are different for different programs, like the Fraps video decompressor. This would basically be like me using Fraps to record, but I'm using this program. So it records like Fraps, but it's a different program. Now, I prefer the Dxtory video codec. That's what I choose. Now, if you go to the configuration to the right here, this window pops up. Now, you should check compress, because this will compress your video down and make your file size smaller. That way you don't take up mass amounts of storage recording videos. Now, this is all preference, but the file sizes change dramatically. I once recorded a video in high quality, and it was about 18 minutes long. I think it was 189 gigabytes, so I wouldn't recommend using high quality. Low quality, if you recorded like a 15-minute video, you'd probably get about, I don't know, 10 gigs, 12 gigs. Medium gets you, for a 15, probably around 34. I don't know, it's a lot of memory, but the quality is really nice. And I haven't tested true quality, so I can't really give my opinion on that. I guess you just try it and find out if you like, you know, the file size and how it looks and everything. So I've got mine medium quality and compressed. Now, over here on the frame rate, you can choose 29.97 or 30. Don't go any higher than 30, trust me. It doesn't make a difference at all. Your video will still look perfectly good. So put this on 30 FPS, and then you're not going to worry about clipping unless you want to make your window smaller when you record. I think the margins do that too. So if I wanted to just record this window of Dxtory, which I probably could have done just to show you, I would have went into my margins and changed that. Now, you're going to want your output as file output, and it's going to output it as an AVI, which puts it makes the AVI one file, and if you drag it into like a recording program, it splits it up into into all your files. So like when I record my sound, I've got my Windows sounds and my microphone, and then I've got my video that I recorded. So basically what this is it puts it all into one thing. I haven't tested RawCap, but see, a RawCap file is convertible. What'd that say? A RawCap file is convertible for an AVI file by Cap Converter. Cap Converter's down here. That's the first one, actually. And you add a file and you convert it into the other file. So if you accidentally record it in RawCap, I'm pretty sure you could switch it over to AVI. But I would recommend using file output in AVI. This is your opinion. You can use your mouse cursor in your video. So right now you can see my mouse cursor. I have it included in the video. Do not check synchronize video FPS. That basically records your video at the same frames that you're running the game. So let's say I was playing Tekken and I was running the game at like 120 frames per second, and I was recording. Now my video is going to be recording at 30 FPS normally, but if I check this box, it's going to synchronize both of them and it'll record it at 120 frames, which will take up more memory, and you don't really need all that. So just leave that unchecked. Now this is important. What you're going to want to do is make your percent on 100. That's going to make your window, it's going to record your entire screen. So if I put it on 75, it would only record a portion of it. So keep that on 100. And then when you go into size, my monitor runs at 1920 by 1080. Now that is 1080p if I were to record with that. And I want to record mine in 720p. So basically what you do there is you're going to want to put your width on 1280 and the height on 720. Now this will make your video record in 720p, which downgrades the file size, and the video looks just as good as 1080p. There's not really any major differences, so I would use both of those. And now what you're going to want to make sure you do, this is a must, go into this video setting down here, and you're going to want to match these up. Now you're only going to use output 1, and just don't even mess with this. You don't need a preset. You're going to customize it. You're going to make the width and height the same as down here. So as you can see, mine are the same. And you're going to want to make sure the frame rate is the same. So I've got mine on 30. That's the same as this one. The adjust mode, just leave it on stretch. That way it records full screen and it won't mess up your video. Leave the back color normal. Should be black by default. And that's it for this. Not sure what modify does. Okay, I'm pretty sure that just applies the settings. But make sure these all match up with what you put over here. That is a must. Now, when you get to the audio tab, this second one won't be here, so disregard that one. But you'll have the speakers one. You're going to choose your default speaker device, which mine is speakers. Then you're going to want it on PCM, and it should be something different. I don't remember what it is by default, but you're going to scroll up to the very top and then go down to PCM. It's 192,000 hertz, 24-bit, and it's stereo. You don't want any monos. You want stereo. If you scroll up to the top, and it should be the third one up from the bottom. Now, if you plan on recording with a microphone, you would press this plus button and you add an audio stream. You go over to that, and then you choose the device, which I have mine for microphone. The volume can be whatever you want. I keep mine at 50. I'm not sure why that was 47. You can keep it all the way up if you want people to hear you really well, and then when you edit it, you can turn the decibels down, and like Vegas, you could drag the track volume down. I just recorded in 50 because that's fine. Make sure this one is PCM as well, and if you go all the way up to the top, it should be the last one. It's the same as the other one, PCM 192,000 hertz, 24-bit in stereo. Now, make sure you have record sound checked. So you could have all these, and you could have a bunch of these. You know, I could add them like crazy, but I don't want to do that. So basically, if you have a ton of these, and let's say you've got 2 different microphones, and you've got 2 different default speakers, or you've modified them in some way, and you don't want to record with your other microphone, you would go to that stream, and you would uncheck record sound. And you can change this for different profiles. So as you can see, I've got mine on default setting, so every time I record, it records with these 2 things because I don't need anything else. But you can uncheck that and change it for your different profiles and set it up the way you like. You can use a push-to-talk hotkey, which is back in the hotkey section, push-to-talk. And basically what that'll do is it'll only record your voice when you're pushing the key you assign to that. So if you have this checked, you have to push that key that you assigned to push-to-talk to be able to record your voice. So I don't use that. I just, whatever I say, I don't have to push any keys. I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's kind of a hassle, especially if you're playing a game. That's it for this tab. Now if we go to the screenshot tab, I've got mine on default. The only thing I would change is I would go from PNG to JPEG because that's what I prefer. Make the quality 100 so that way you get nice crisp pictures. I do not have include mouse cursor in my screenshots, mostly because when I take screenshots, like if I'm playing Tekkit or something, I like to hit F1 and it takes away my overlay, my hood, it takes it away. So it's just what I'm seeing on my screen. I don't have my little hotbar on the bottom or nothing like that. And then when I take the screenshot, I don't want to have the cursor in there. I just want it to be the picture. I don't want my cursor, because that just makes it look better. So I have that unchecked. Now, this is for your screenshots, depending on how you want them to be. I would recommend the percent on 100. You can change that however you want, but 100 is where I go. I'm guessing if you put it on 75, you'd have margins on the sides. And if you put it in 50, it'd be a full screen window. Like in the middle, it'd be a square box. Make sure the size is what you're recording in. So this is what we're recording in. The 1280 by 720. So I would highly recommend you put the width and height on the same thing as what you're recording in. That way it'll take the screenshot in 720p. It'll be great quality. And that'll be good for you. And you can also change the margins if you want. You can clip it. You can do high-speed screenshots if you go into here. High-speed screenshots, you can set a hotkey for that. And then when you're back in the screenshot tab, you can choose how many screenshots you want to be performed. So basically what this option is for, if I set up my auto screenshot to like the number 7, and I made my limit on 5. If I pressed 7, it would take 5 screenshots, and the auto repeat is you can repeat the screenshot action after a certain amount of seconds. So if I pressed F7, after it took those 5 screenshots, in the next 1,000 seconds, pretty sure it's seconds. Oh, it is a unit of the millisecond. So basically after 1,000 milliseconds, it would execute another high-speed screenshot of 5 screenshots. So you could take screenshots every 1,000 milliseconds or whatever number you want to put on here. And it'll do high-speed screenshots every time it gets around to that interval again. I don't use this. I wouldn't recommend using it, but if you really want to, you could. You might be surprised. You might get some good screenshots out of that. Margins, as I said, that's to decrease or increase your window size. The next tab is the Advanced tab. You don't really need anything in here, but I would recommend using default. That way it does it for all your profiles. I have enabled... Actually, I don't need this. Oops. Basically, enabled multi-GPU fixed code. That's if you have more than one graphics card, and if you have them both set up to record, which I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to, you could definitely do that. It'll record both of them at the same time, so that way your game runs a lot smoother. The processing threads is how good the quality comes out. You don't need any more than 2, but if you run into any lag issues, you could bump that down to 1. I have mine on 2 because it works great for me. I wouldn't go to 3 or 4. You don't need that many threads. And then what I would definitely do, depending on how good your computer is and what your graphics card is, I would limit my video FPS to 60 frames. So if I'm playing a game and I'm recording at 30 FPS, it automatically drops my frames that I see down to 60 instead of like 120. It drops it down to 60 no matter what. So that way I'm recording in 30 frames and I'm running on my end of the screen at 60. That way it doesn't put a big toll on my graphics card. That's it for this tab. Now the global tab, this is basically what you prefer, but I've got these 2 unchecked. My profile icon, that's just how big this bar is at the top. You know, however big you want it. I have mine on medium. Show task tray icon, so if you go down here to the taskbar, you can see Dxtory is right there in my task tray. And then hide taskbar button when minimized. That basically hides it from your tray. It only puts it in the hidden icons, so it's gonna hide it in the hidden icons little up and down arrow thing. And those are the only 2 things I would recommend using. And then this is just information about the program. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and if it was, leave the video a thumbs up and favorite it, and I will be putting out more tutorials soon, so you can check those out too. Alright, peace.